Beloved, there are moments in life when heaven begins to whisper to your spirit, get ready. Not for struggle, not for survival, but for overflow. You may have been counting coins, calculating bills, or wondering when your breakthrough will come. But I tell you today, something divine is shifting in your favor. The same unseen power that hung the stars and formed the earth is about to shock your bank account. Yes, the tables are turning. The season of lack is closing, and the floodgates of abundance are opening. You are standing at the edge of a supernatural increase that cannot be explained by logic, effort, or circumstance. This is not about luck, it's about alignment. When your inner world begins to agree with the limitless nature of God, the outer world must conform. So lift your vision higher, because the source of all creation is not running low. He's ready to pour out in ways that will leave you speechless. Unexpected credits, divine connections, supernatural favor, and provision beyond your imagination. This is not just a message, it's a prophetic moment of awakening. Get ready, because what's coming next is not a trickle, it's a flood of financial glory. The shock that's about to hit your bank account will prove one thing: God never forgets those who dare to believe. The invisible cause of wealth is within you. Every form of wealth that appears in the physical world has its root in the invisible realm of consciousness. Before a single coin lands in your hand, before an opportunity shows up, and before any business blossoms, there is an unseen seed that gives it birth. That seed is your state of being. The world calls it mindset or positive thinking, but it is far deeper than that. It is the quiet conviction within you that knows, not hopes, not wishes, but knows that you are already supplied. The truth is, no external force determines your prosperity. Not your job, not your background, not even the economy. The true cause of wealth lies hidden in the deep chambers of your imagination and belief. Everything that shows up in your life is the outpicturing of what you have been inwardly assuming to be true. When you hold yourself in a vibration of lack, when you constantly affirm, I don't have enough, the world mirrors that back to you through closed doors, delayed payments, and missed opportunities. But the moment you begin to accept abundance as your natural state, not as something to chase, but as something you already are, everything begins to shift. You see, there is a divine law that governs all manifestation. What you inwardly feel yourself to be, you become in the outer world. Your imagination is not just daydreaming, it is the creative womb of reality. When you close your eyes and imagine yourself wealthy, stable, and free, and you feel it as though it were real, you are planting a living seed into the fertile soil of the universe. The unseen power within you takes that seed and begins to rearrange the outer world to make it visible. It moves people, resources, and events like chess pieces, aligning everything necessary to bring your vision to life. That is why some people seem lucky, not because fortune favors them, but because their inner picture is aligned with abundance. They don't wait to see it before they believe it, and then they see it. Think of your imagination as the blueprint and your belief as the construction crew. The universe builds according to your inner design. If you constantly imagine struggle, you will experience struggle. If you constantly imagine overflow, you will experience overflow. But here's the divine mystery. Most people are unconsciously imagining poverty while praying for wealth. They talk of blessings but think of bills. They hope for overflow but feel the pressure of lack. And the unseen law, impartial and exact, simply reflects their dominant vibration. It is not about what you say, it's about what you feel true when no one is watching. Feelings are the language of creation. Whatever you consistently feel, you magnetize. The invisible cause of wealth is not a distant God in the sky deciding who to bless. It is the God within you expressing through your own awareness. When you declare, I am prosperous, and you feel it with conviction, you are aligning yourself with the eternal abundance that never runs dry. Every great fortune begins with this inner alignment. You cannot rise higher than the picture you hold of yourself. You may work hard, but if your inner belief says, I never have enough, then no matter how much you earn, something will always drain it away. But when your belief shifts to, money flows to me easily and constantly, the outer world begins to obey that command. It might not happen overnight, but like a seed in the soil, it will grow quietly and surely until it breaks through into visible form. Wealth consciousness is not arrogance, it is acceptance. You are not begging the universe for more, you are awakening to what has always been yours. The moment you realize that you are the channel through which divine supply flows, your relationship with money transforms completely. You no longer chase it, you attract it. You no longer fear it, you bless it. You no longer cling to it, you allow it to circulate and multiply. Every time you express gratitude for what you have, you expand your capacity to receive more. Gratitude is the frequency of multiplication. The more grateful you are, the more reasons life gives you to be grateful. To live from the invisible cause of wealth means to reverse the old order of thinking. Instead of waiting for money to make you feel abundant, you must feel abundant first, and then the money will appear. It's the law of reflection, the outer follows the inner. When you walk in the awareness that you are divinely supported, every step becomes blessed. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach will start finding you. Ideas will come alive within your mind. People will appear out of nowhere, carrying the very resources you once thought you lacked. This is the magic of inner alignment. You are the source through which supply flows. So today, stop looking at your current balance and calling it truth. That number is only the shadow of your past thinking. It does not define your future. The real wealth is forming invisibly right now as you change your inner story. Every time you affirm, I am abundantly provided for. God is my endless supply. I live in overflow. You are rewriting the pattern that controls your outer life. The invisible cause of wealth responds instantly to your conviction. Hold that feeling. Nourish it, live in it. See yourself free, prosperous, generous, and peaceful. That image will soon solidify into fact. Your task is not to figure out how it will happen. That's the job of the unseen power. Your only work is to remain faithful to the feeling of abundance. Keep your thoughts anchored in prosperity and your emotions aligned with gratitude. The universe cannot resist a soul that knows its own wealth. Remember this truth: you do not need to get rich. You need to become aware that you already are. Everything you desire is already within you, waiting for your recognition. When you awaken to that, you'll find your bank account catching up with your belief and your world overflowing with the visible signs of the invisible, because you have finally embraced. Feel the reality before it appears, everything you desire. The wealth, the freedom, the comfort, the overflowing bank account already exists in the unseen realm. It is not something you are waiting for, it is something you are meant to awaken to. The key to bringing it from the invisible to the visible is this: you must feel it before you see it. This is the divine formula of manifestation, the sacred bridge between spirit and matter. Most people live reversed. They wait for physical evidence before they allow themselves to feel joy, gratitude, or relief. They wait for money to arrive before they feel abundant. But the law of creation doesn't work that way. The universe is a mirror, reflecting not your wishes but your inner state. If you wish to change your reflection, you must first change the image you are projecting from within. Feeling is not a weak or passive act. It is the most powerful creative force in existence. When you close your eyes and step into the feeling of already having what you desire, you send out a vibration that commands the unseen world to align itself with that reality. The moment you feel rich, free, and at peace, you have entered the state from which wealth must flow. Your outer life has no choice but to catch up with your inner conviction. That's why faith is not blind hope. It is the emotional certainty that what you have seen within must appear without. Let's imagine for a moment that your bank account is overflowing, that every bill is paid, every need met, and more than enough remains to bless others. Feel the relief, the calm, the gratitude, the freedom of that condition. Do not think about how it will happen. That belongs to the realm of logic, not faith. Instead, feel the reality as if it were unfolding right now. Feel the texture of abundance, the ease in your chest, the lightness in your steps, the deep rest in your mind. When you persist in this inner state, you are literally building the energetic blueprint of your future. Life, by law, must reproduce the pattern of your dominant feeling. Most people unknowingly delay their blessings because they keep feeling lack while praying for abundance. They talk about faith, but their emotions are still rooted in fear. They visualize millions but keep checking their accounts with anxiety. The two states cannot coexist. One must dissolve the other. To feel rich while your outer world seems poor is the greatest act of faith you can perform. That feeling is not self-deception, it is spiritual alignment. You are not pretending, you are preparing. You are training your vibration to match the reality that already exists in the higher dimension. When your inner frequency and your desired experience harmonize, the two merge and manifestation becomes inevitable. Feeling before seeing is an inner rehearsal of the life you wish to live. The mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. So when you feel wealth, the subconscious accepts it as truth and begins to reorganize your reality to support that belief. Ideas begin to surface, people are drawn into your path, and circumstances reshape themselves in ways you could not have planned. The divine power within you does not respond to words, it responds to states of being. If you keep saying, I am wealthy, but your inner tone is one of doubt or lack, then your words are hollow. But if you whisper those same words with deep conviction and peace, the whole universe listens. This is why gratitude is so transformative. Gratitude is the feeling of already having received. It bridges the gap between desire and manifestation. When you give thanks in advance, you declare to the universe, it is done. That declaration shifts you from wanting to possessing. You no longer vibrate from the energy of absence. You vibrate from the fullness of fulfillment. And the moment you live in that fullness, creation rushes to mirror it. You cannot outgive God. The moment you feel grateful, more reasons to be grateful will appear. Now, understand this. The feeling of wealth is not arrogance or fantasy. It is divine remembrance. You are remembering your natural state, your original inheritance as a child of infinite supply. When you feel abundant, you are not lying to yourself. You are waking up from the lie of limitation. You are affirming, I and my source are one, and therefore I lack nothing. This awareness opens the floodgates. When your inner world is saturated with the feeling of abundance, it overflows into every aspect of your life. People will start to respond differently. Doors that once seemed closed will open. Unexpected opportunities will appear. What changed? Not the world, you did. This is the sacred secret the world ignores. Feeling is the key to every door. If you feel poor, even surrounded by money, you will experience lack. But if you feel rich, even when your wallet is empty, you have already planted the seed of wealth. That seed must bear fruit because the law of feeling is unbreakable. Everything reproduces after its kind. A feeling of abundance must reproduce abundance. A feeling of shortage must reproduce shortage. It is not personal, it is universal law. So, train your heart to feel what your eyes cannot yet see. Each morning, before you look at your bank balance, close your eyes and feel the satisfaction of overflow. Walk through your day with the quiet confidence that every resource you need is already on its way. When doubt arises, don't fight it. Simply return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Repeat it until it becomes your natural emotional home. The more you dwell in that state, the more your outer world reshapes itself to match it. Remember this truth: your world is a mirror of your inner state. If you want more money, feel the security of already having it. If you want more freedom, feel the joy of already living it. If you want more opportunity, feel the excitement of already receiving it. The moment you can feel it as real, you have already created it. The universe is simply catching up. So today, stop begging, stop waiting, and stop worrying. The delay is not in the divine plan, it's in your emotional alignment. Begin now to feel rich, to feel abundant, to feel complete. Not later, not tomorrow, but now. Let your heart overflow with gratitude for blessings both seen and unseen. The more you dwell in the feeling of the fulfilled desire, the faster it becomes fact. For the secret of creation is simple and eternal. What you feel as true becomes your world. Your bank account obeys your inner command. Money is not a master, it is a mirror. It reflects your consciousness, your beliefs, and your emotional relationship with abundance. The zeros in your account, the flow of income, the unexpected bills. All of it is an outer expression of the inner world you've been cultivating. This is the spiritual truth most people overlook. Your bank account obeys your inner command. It responds not to effort alone, but to vibration, to assumption, and to the tone of authority you speak with when you address life. The energy you hold toward money becomes the command that shapes your financial reality. If your inner dialogue constantly whispers, I never have enough, money leaves too quickly, or I can't catch a break, then those very statements become decrees that your reality fulfills. But when you rise into a higher awareness, when you start declaring with conviction that I live in divine supply, money flows easily and constantly to me, I am financially favored and guided, then a new order begins to form around you. Money listens, not with ears but with energy. It is a servant of consciousness. When you give it fearful energy, it hides. When you bless it, it multiplies. The law is simple but exact: what you bless expands, what you resent contract. Many people unknowingly curse their finances by speaking words of lack, by complaining about what they don't have, or by resenting others who prosper. These emotions send out a vibration of resistance, and resistance blocks flow. The moment you shift from fear to gratitude, from tension to trust, you open the floodgates again. Speak to your money as though it were alive, because in a spiritual sense it is. It is energy in motion, waiting to follow the authority of your belief. You see, you are not subject to money. Money is subject to you. The outer world has been taught to chase it, to struggle for it, to treat it as something outside of themselves. But the truth is reversed. Money takes its cue from your inner sense of worth. When you see yourself as valuable, deserving, and supported, you automatically command wealth to appear in ways you could never have planned. But if you secretly believe you are unworthy or struggle to receive, your inner signal tells money to stay away. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you believe you are. If you see yourself as abundant, abundance must mirror that. Commanding your finances is not about arrogance or ego. It's about recognizing your creative authority. You are made in the image of the Creator, which means your words and emotions carry power. When you speak over your finances, you are shaping their behavior. Say to your bank account, you are growing daily. You are multiplying with ease. You are a reflection of divine order. Don't wait for proof. Your words are the proof in seed form. The same way a farmer speaks life over the soil, you must speak life over your money. When you do this with faith and consistency, you will notice subtle but profound shifts. Opportunities begin to appear, payments clear faster. Unexpected credits show up, and channels of increase open in surprising ways. Money is obedient to the one who knows their authority. It bends to confidence, not desperation. That's why begging never brings abundance, it only reinforces lack. You cannot command from a place of fear. You must command from peace, from knowing, from quiet certainty that divine substance is always available. The moment you stop chasing and start commanding, money begins to recognize you as its master. You no longer say, I hope it comes. You say, it must come. It already belongs to me. That shift from hoping to knowing is what moves the invisible into manifestation. To command your finances effectively, you must also cleanse your emotional energy around money. Many people carry guilt, fear, or shame connected to it, perhaps from upbringing, society, or past struggles. But money is neutral. It carries no moral weight. It simply amplifies who you already are. Release the belief that wanting more is wrong, or that wealth is difficult to attain. Those ideas are chains, and they keep you in a vibration of scarcity. Instead, affirm that abundance is your birthright, that circulation is divine law, and that increase is natural. When you believe these truths, you issue a silent but powerful command to the universe. Let the flow begin. Every time you look at your bank account, instead of reacting with frustration or worry, speak directly to it. Imagine it as a living reservoir waiting to respond to your energy. Say aloud, you are blessed. You are expanding. You are filled with divine increase. Feel the truth of those words. The numbers may not change immediately, but the energy will, and energy always precedes matter. Just as a seed does not sprout the instant it's planted, your words will first work in the unseen. Keep watering them with faith, gratitude, and joyful expectation. The harvest will come in perfect time. You must also understand that commanding your finances means aligning your actions with your inner decree. Faith without movement is incomplete. When you believe in overflow, you start behaving from generosity instead of fear. You start investing instead of hoarding, sharing instead of clinging. Every act of generosity declares to the universe, I have more than enough. And life echoes back, yes, you do. The hand that opens to give is the same hand ready to receive. Let giving be your silent command of wealth. Remember, there is no separation between the spiritual and the material. Money is one of the ways spirit expresses itself in form. When you treat it with reverence and confidence, you invite it to stay. When you panic or idolize it, you repel it. Let your relationship with money be one of friendship, not fear. Speak to it like a trusted companion. You and I work together in harmony. You serve my purpose, and I honor your flow. Those who speak this way find that their finances respond with grace, stability, and constant increase. So from this day forward, stop seeing money as something you pursue. Begin to command it as the natural outflow of your divine alignment. Speak with conviction. Feel abundance as your reality. Affirm daily, I am the channel of divine wealth. My accounts overflow. Money comes to me freely, frequently, and from every direction. Say it until it becomes the rhythm of your consciousness. Your words are not empty, they are creative decrees shaping the unseen. Soon, the reflection in your bank account will bow to your belief. Never forget, your finances are not outside of your control. They are reflections of your inner world. When you stand in the authority of your divine nature and issue the command of abundance, the outer must obey. The law is unchanging as within, so without. Your bank account will not argue with you. It will simply mirror your conviction. So speak boldly, believe deeply, and act confidently. The moment you do, money becomes what it was always meant to be, a faithful servant of your divine command, carrying out the orders of your abundant heart. The shock comes when you least expect it. There comes a moment in every journey of faith when the invisible suddenly becomes visible. When what you once imagined quietly in the secret place bursts into undeniable form. It doesn't arrive through logic, planning, or effort alone. It comes like a wave of divine surprise, rearranging your world in ways you could never have predicted. That is the shock. The holy, electrifying realization that what you believed, what you felt, what you dared to claim in silence has now materialized before your eyes. You may have been waiting for months or years, nurturing your inner state of abundance, holding faith through delays and doubts, but suddenly the phone rings, the door opens, the email arrives, or the deposit appears. And in that moment, you realize something sacred God was working all along. The shock is not random. It is the perfect expression of divine timing. While you were learning to trust the unseen, the universe was aligning every detail behind the curtain. The right people, opportunities, and ideas were being prepared for your arrival into the state of overflow. What felt like delay was actually design. What looked like silence was spiritual construction. The shock comes when the inner work has fully ripened, when your belief, emotion, and self-image have merged into oneness. At that point, manifestation can no longer be withheld, because the vibration within you has become identical to the vibration of abundance itself. The outer world must reflect it. The divine law never fails. This is why miracles often appear when we have stopped trying. Not because we gave up, but because we finally surrendered. In surrender, we stop worrying about the how and rest in the knowing of the done. The moment you release control and dwell in peace, the power that governs all creation begins to move freely. Then, without warning, something shifts. What once seemed impossible unfolds with effortless grace. That surprise, that sudden overflow, is the universe's way of confirming that faith is never wasted. The delay was only there to deepen your trust and refine your vibration. Once your inner frequency matched your desired state, the manifestation became inevitable. The shock comes because the human mind cannot grasp the vast intelligence of divine orchestration. You might have thought your increase would come through your job, or a client, or a single opportunity. But God uses infinite channels. The blessing might appear through a gift, a refund, a forgotten investment, a sudden raise, or even a stranger's generosity. It might not follow the route you expected, but it will arrive right on schedule. The overflow doesn't need your strategy, it needs your alignment. The divine intelligence that beats your heart also arranges your prosperity. When you trust that invisible wisdom, you step into the flow where miracles are natural. It's important to understand that the shock isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. It reminds you that you were never without supply, that the universe was never against you, and that divine abundance has always been near, waiting for your readiness. When you finally let go of fear and walk in faith, you become a match for surprise blessings. The shock is simply the visible echo of your invisible belief. It's the moment the curtain lifts, revealing what has been built for you in silence. You might remember the times you almost gave up, when nothing seemed to move and doubt whispered that you were forgotten. But behind that stillness, energy was rearranging itself in your favor. Every prayer, every affirmation, every visualization was recorded in the field of creation. Nothing was lost. The moment your heart and mind aligned perfectly with your desire, boom, the visible world snapped into agreement. That's why blessings often come wrapped in suddenness. To the untrained eye, it looks like coincidence, but to the awakened soul, it is divine precision. The shock is God's signature, proof that faith is a higher intelligence than reason. Think of a seed buried in the soil. For weeks it seems nothing is happening. The surface remains still, and the impatient gardener may believe the soil is barren. But deep beneath, life is forming. The roots are spreading, the seed is splitting, and growth is preparing to break through. Then one day, seemingly out of nowhere, the sprout pierces the surface. That's how manifestation works. The shock of seeing it is only surprising because the work was invisible. Your financial overflow is the same. The wealth that appears suddenly is not sudden at all. It's the visible emergence of energy that has been developing underground through your faith, gratitude, and inner certainty. When the shock comes, don't shrink back in disbelief. Receive it boldly. Let it remind you of who you are and whose power flows through you. The overflow is not a one-time miracle, it's an invitation into a new normal. Once you experience divine surprise, your confidence expands. You realize you don't need to chase or stress. You only need to stay aligned, grateful, and open. The same law that brought one blessing can bring 100 more. The shock simply proves that the system works. And remember, the more you trust, the more freely blessings move. The energy of surprise thrives in the space of expectation without attachment. Expect miracles, but don't dictate how they come. Let the universe express its creativity. Your only task is to live in the feeling of already being blessed, already being rich, already being provided for. When you live in that inner state, everything you touch begins to respond. You will see doors open that logic can't explain, debts cleared without struggle, and opportunities that seem too good to be true. Yet they are true, because they reflect your elevated vibration. So get ready. The shock is not in the future, it is forming now. It's the next stage of your alignment, the harvest of your belief. Stay faithful to the feeling of abundance. Keep your heart in gratitude and your words in harmony with prosperity. When the divine moment arrives, it will not come gently. It will come powerfully. It will sweep through your life like a rushing river of favor, leaving you breathless with wonder. You will stand there smiling, tears of joy in your eyes, realizing that what once seemed distant was within you all along. And in that holy moment, you will know the shock was never random. It was the echo of your own faith returning home. Overflow is a natural state of consciousness. Overflow is not a miracle you have to beg for. It is your natural state of being. The very essence of life is abundance. The trees do not struggle to produce leaves. The rivers do not strive to flow. The sun does not labor to shine. Creation overflows by design. Look around you. Every petal, every grain of sand, every star in the sky is evidence of divine excess. The universe is not stingy, it is generous beyond measure. And because you are made in the image of that same infinite intelligence, you too are designed for overflow. Scarcity is not your truth, it is a learned illusion. Somewhere along the way, humanity was taught to shrink, to limit, to believe that enough is all we deserve. But the soul knows better. Deep within you is a current of divine supply, an infinite reservoir of ideas, resources, and opportunities waiting to flow through your life. Not just to sustain you, but to abundantly bless you and everyone connected to you. To live in overflow is to return to your original consciousness, the awareness of unity with Source. When you know that God is your supply, you stop measuring abundance by numbers, status, or possessions. You begin to understand that true wealth is a state of mind, a vibration of wholeness that naturally magnetizes every material form needed to express it. Overflow doesn't start with a bank deposit, it starts with a realization. When you realize that you are the open channel through which divine substance flows, you stop asking for more and begin to live as more. You stop chasing and start radiating. The more you radiate, the more the world mirrors that radiance back in visible form. Many people try to manifest abundance while still identifying with lack. They want overflow, but they feel empty inside. They pray for prosperity, but think in terms of survival. That's like trying to pour water from an empty cup. To live in overflow, you must first fill yourself with the consciousness of abundance. You must see yourself as already complete, already rich in love, in ideas, in faith, and in worth. The moment you embody that feeling, everything around you begins to multiply. Overflow is simply the outer echo of inner fullness. When your heart is full, your hands cannot remain empty. This is why gratitude is so powerful. It converts awareness into expansion. The grateful heart cannot experience lack because it is always focused on the good that is already present. And what you focus on expands. Each time you give thanks, you are watering the garden of your abundance. Gratitude aligns you with the rhythm of overflow because it affirms, I already have. And from that state, life says, here is more. The ungrateful soul repels increase, for it vibrates in the energy of complaint. But the grateful one multiplies miracles, not through effort, but through alignment. Overflow is not achieved, it is allowed. The consciousness of overflow has nothing to do with greed or hoarding. It is not about taking from others. It's about realizing that there is no competition in divine supply. The same source that provides for the stars provides for you. The universe doesn't divide, it multiplies. Your abundance does not diminish another's, it adds to the collective harmony. When you live in overflow, you become a blessing to the world. Your generosity flows naturally because you know you can never run out. You give, not to lose, but to express the truth that your supply is endless. Giving and receiving are two sides of the same divine breath. Exhale and inhale, circulation and renewal. The more freely you give, the more freely you receive, because the flow must continue. To sustain overflow, you must guard your consciousness. Do not let fear or doubt contaminate your vibration. These are thieves that rob the mind of its creative power. When you start to fear that the flow will end, you close the channel. But when you stay centered in faith, calm, trusting, grateful, the current continues uninterrupted. It is not your job to force the flow, it is your job to remain open. Money, ideas, and opportunities are drawn to open hearts. The closed fist cannot receive. The open hand, however, welcomes miracles. The more you live from this awareness, the more you will see that overflow is not about getting. It is about being. It is the natural result of living in harmony with your divine identity. When you know that you are one with infinite intelligence, every need is met before you even ask. You move through life with quiet confidence, knowing that supply is as constant as your next breath. You don't panic when something appears to leave, because you understand that in the divine economy, nothing is ever lost. It only changes form. The same power that brought yesterday's blessing is preparing tomorrow's miracle. This is the rhythm of overflow, continual renewal, continual increase, continual circulation. When you reach this state, financial miracles no longer surprise you. They become your norm. You begin to expect the unexpected, to welcome divine surprises with calm joy instead of disbelief. You stop questioning if things will work out and start celebrating how beautifully they always do. You no longer wait for blessings to prove your faith. Your faith itself becomes the blessing. The more you live in this vibration, the more the material world bends to accommodate your consciousness. Bills pay themselves, opportunities seek you out, and money becomes a joyful tool of expression rather than a source of stress. Overflow is not reserved for a chosen few. It is the birthright of every soul who remembers who they are. It is not earned through striving but awakened through awareness. You don't need to chase it. You only need to awaken to it. The river of divine supply has never stopped flowing. It's only been blocked by your belief in separation. Remove that block by affirming daily, I live in the flow of divine abundance. I am open, receptive, and richly supplied. I am an instrument of overflow. Say it, feel it, believe it. As you do, life will rearrange itself to prove your declaration true. So today, release every thought of limitation. Let go of fear, scarcity, and striving. Stand tall in the truth that you are already abundant, already connected to infinite source, already living in overflow. The same power that sustains galaxies flows through your veins. The same creative force that painted sunsets and carved mountains is expressing itself as your prosperity. When you recognize this oneness, you move beyond asking and into knowing. You realize that the ocean of divine supply has no shore, and you are standing right in the middle of it. Overflow is not coming, it is here. It is who you are. Live from that truth and watch as your life, your finances, your opportunities, your relationships expand to match the magnitude of your awakened awareness. You were never meant to survive, you were created to overflow.